So I ended up moving out of Milwaukee after a few years. They tried to kidnap me and kill me, and they couldn't catch me.
Just the streets.
Man, pulled up on me one day coming from the beauty shop, followed me from the beauty shop, followed me all the way to my house. Pulled up a van full of dudes with a mask on, and it's warm out. They got on winter coats and masks. Like, I've always been a fighter type thing. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, opened the door, jumped out with guns. I'm like, man, I'm finna die. I went from like floor to floor, just walking around the hospital, just trying to figure it out, right? Like, what I'm gonna do, right? I can't go home, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know what to do.
Never figure me out here.
Yeah,
for at least 12 hours.
For like 12 hours, I literally didn't. It's kind of like your baby 15 and she passing out baby shower invitations.
That's not very good. This is not the type of generational thing you want to pass on.
Nah, it ain't cool.
This is not productive.
Such a birthday party, right? So you want 15-year-old girls to think if I have sex, I'm finna get all these gifts and a real baby doll?
That's right.
Stop. Knock it off.
We're here for the introduction of In and Out. It's a movement to change the world. It represents all things and all of us at all times. It's about freeing ourselves of any prison.
Welcome to In and Out Podcast, where I have dope conversations with incredible people who have been freed from some form of prison. I am Eric Geralt, and today I'm talking with my guest, Dr. Cynthia Williams, as she takes us along her amazing journey of beating the longest odds and overcoming hardship, pain, and struggle, and achieving great success. What's happening today?
Hey, glad to be here.
Glad to have you,
Yes.
I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're doing, and where you're going, and then we'll get into having our conversation.
Absolutely. So my name is Dr. Cynthia Williams. I am a grief counselor, amongst other things that I do to make sure the world understands how to understand themselves is my goal. So understanding that, I am a mother of 4 by way of one son who passed away. I was a teen parent, and I grew up and understood what was difficult about being just a person, then a girl, then a mother and a child and a parent and all of those other titles. And from that, I understood the philanthropy was good. I knew that as I grew up, other people were watching me, and I needed to teach them how to do the things that I made mistakes on. And so that's pretty much who I am.
That's pretty dope. Very, very well rounded. That's cool. I want to get into right away what you talked about. You said that you had a son that passed away.
I did.
And I'm assuming maybe that's how you got into counseling grief. Can you tell us, obviously tell us about your son. Talk about your son.
Yeah, so that is absolutely how I got into it. In 2006, my oldest son, Christopher, I had him at 17. Very first time I had sex, I got pregnant.
Wow.
And at 17, I buried him. We were both seniors in high school. And at the time, I just didn't understand. I've known God all my life. And I was questioning why I was chosen for this. And then I went into all of the things I had done and thought that I was being punished. Didn't know that it was going to be my philanthropy. I did understand that I needed to figure out how to get to heaven to find out the answer. And I knew that if I did the things I did prior to him passing, I wasn't going to get there to get the answer, because I started shaking what I thought life was. And I started going to therapy myself, and they were looking at me like I was crazy, because it was like, I'm telling them, yeah, I've been this, I had this happen, that happened. And they were like, well, let's just give you some medicine. And I'm like, no, I don't want no medicine like that. I want to live again. I don't want to be a zombie. But I need tools to live. I'm still a mother of 3, and I still got to feed them. I still got to go to work, but I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating. I'm not thinking, help me. And they couldn't. And so at the time, I was working for a very profound attorney's office here, Davis and Bozeman Law, very good partner friends of mine. And they sent me to school. They were like, man, you help people through grief. And I'm like, this, you don't even have it. You don't even have to study for it. And I'm like, it's innate nature for me. And it came secondhand. And that's how I did that. Started going on much deeper into helping community people, and went to school and got a doctorate in humanities. And then I turned around and got a doctorate in social justice. So I knew that I needed to understand. But My social justice was based. Humanities went with the philanthropy, right? I fight for distracted driving. I tell people all the time, my son was thrown from a car.
Wow.
Right? We literally saw his brain. And I'm not a science major. And Jesus. I had to pull the plug, and it was my birthday. And so I knew.
You had to pull the plug on your plug on your son on your birthday.
Yeah.
And he was 17.
Yeah.
Where that happened
here in Georgia.
In Georgia.
Mm-hmm. So he was at Grady.
What was the circumstances surrounding?
So he was in a car with my niece. She was driving. I don't believe.
Your niece is okay?
My niece survived. Yep, okay. She survived, and about 2 or 3 other kids, young adults, that were in the car. He was the only one without a seatbelt on.
He said who was driving?
My niece was driving, yeah.
Okay.
And my son was the only one without his seatbelt on. So when the car flipped, I believe it was something wrong with the car. I don't think she had no fault, right? It was no fault of hers at all. And then he was thrown from the car. So when the car landed after flipping, paramedics had to go back and find him. And when they went back to find him, when they called me to the hospital, I seen the works of the crash, and it was just amazing. Like, I literally saw his brain hanging out his head. Like, I literally saw the skull. And the doctor was like, I went in, and my daughter passed out, and I was just sitting there like, that ain't my baby. Yeah, nah. Y'all called me here to the hospital to come see my son. I'm like, he got a broke arm or something. Like, that ain't my baby. And the doctor was like, I just don't have the time for your meltdown because I need you to sign this paper so I can cut his skull out to release the pressure of the brain that's expanding.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So it took me a second, and I did. And then about a week later, I had to pull the plug.
So there was no hope for improvement or whatever. I mean, I'm guessing that just
the blood stopped going to the brain, and they showed you, like, they have monitors. Grady is probably the best hospital I've ever seen in my entire life. Very great trauma center, and so they educate you as a parent or whoever's there as a caregiver on what's gonna happen, what you need to look for. And I had come from church one day and saw that the one I needed to monitor for his brain, it was a flat line.
Yeah, Dr. Williams, I've never actually had to endure or experience anything close to that magnitude. As a parent, I could only imagine, what that must be like, just to continue to go on every day. Now, what was your son's name?
Christopher,
that's right. Great name. That's my middle name.
Right.
Christopher, and in relation to his siblings, where was he at? Was he the youngest?
He's the oldest.
He's the oldest. So he was 17 at the time.
Yeah.
How old were your other babies?
So my daughter was 15, and my 2 sons were 9 and 7.
Would you say that was the most difficult thing that you've ever had to deal with? I mean, I would imagine, or at least one of. That
was the most difficult thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. I used to think teen pregnancy was difficult for me. It was very confusing. You have to deal with embarrassment. You have to deal with not being ready. You have to deal with learning how to successfully raise another human when you're just understanding your own life. Until I became a grief counselor and understood the human brain, I didn't understand why I was so confused. It makes all the sense in the world now, right? The brain is only set up to do what it does. Right? So from 0 to 3 years old, 75% of the entire brain of every human only focuses on walking, talking, and using the bathroom. So for the lifespan of the human, 75% of the brain. So imagine you just get up and walk somewhere. Your bladder says it's time to go to the bathroom. Once you're taught these things, you're never taught again, right? So that's 75%. Another 15 to maybe 17, 20% is reading, writing, math, morals and values, your please and thank yous, your things that just come innately to you because you're trained it. There's about 5% of the human brain to the lifespan of the human that we bring in stuff we learn from artistic learning from other people. Like if I'm sitting around you and I pick up a habit, or if I go to Sally's house and Sally, the parents, sit down and says, so we have a no phone zone at dinner, and you put your phone down and bring a topic, and it's your day. Since you're the guest, it's your day for the topic, and then you're looking like, what is your daddy talking about? And then Sally embarrassed because she really she think it's lame because you don't know nothing about it, but you geeked about it because at your house is every man for himself, and it's like, I don't care what you eat, just clean up my kitchen, and we ain't sitting down together and none of that. So now you're picking up a different type of moral that you decide, I'm going to remove the one that we have, add this one, and that contributes to the 5%. So I realized then when I was learning the brain that I wasn't crazy. I just didn't know.
Right.
I just didn't know.
Wow. So, and I've heard that when a parent loses a child, mm-hmm. That a piece of them dies, and that you truly never able to 100% just get over it. What was it like for you? How difficult was it for you and your 3 other children? And how long did that last? Right after you lost your child, mm-hmm. were you able? Did you have help? What was it like for you? What was the situation? Were you married? Did you have someone to help you with the children, or did their grades suffer? What was that period following that time like? How did you pick up the pieces?
So the dynamic was different, very different in a sense of we all literally fell apart, literally.
You and your
me and my children, because that was it. It was just us 3. Right. I had family, my son's grandmother came and stayed. I had an aunt come. My mother, not so much. And not because she didn't want to come. I knew she loved my children more than me. And it was too much for her to handle.
She loved your children more than she loved you?
That's a fact.
Okay. Wow. That's a whole nother, yeah.
That's a fact.
Okay.
And so I think for me, I probably had about 3 broken heart attacks.
Broken heart attacks?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
What is, tell me about that.
Exerted anxiety, where your heart palpitates so bad that you can't breathe and you stop your breathing, for lack of better words, and your heart and blood pressure go up beyond measure. You get to the hospital, and it's called the broken heart syndrome. It's literally a minor heart attack. So I had about 3 of those. And my kids had to understand that. And I remember the last time I got to the hospital and the doctor was like, it's in your mind. And that if you don't just heal from it to just survive, you'll have many of them. I don't know if they won't take you out.
But they can actually take you out. You can die from a broken heart by way of a heart attack, mm-hmm. a broken heart attack, a broken heart attack.
It's called the broken heart syndrome. I want you to read it. Because a lot of people don't realize how real it is. And I think life allows us to think about what we go through, who we are, who's attached to us, and we hold on too much. We hold on to way too much. And life isn't for us to just keep our past in our future.
When you say we hold on to too much. So with that said, mm-hmm. Do you feel that you were holding on to...
I just hadn't accepted it yet.
You hadn't, okay.
It was hard to accept, right? I know I was there, right? I pulled the plug. I did the funeral, right? It was just more like, what am I supposed to do now? Right? Like you have a kid for 17 years that you touch, you hug, you discipline, you raise, you feed, you talk to, and then they're gone. Like, what do? How do you live, right? And it was hurtful. It was more like, why the molester and the murderer and what's happening, right? Like, what I do, right? And then I had to realize that life has always been bigger than me, despite what I've done, my mistakes, my good, bad, and indifference. But I've always been a leader. I've always been very vocal about my life. I've always been very stand-up-ish about what I believe in. My belief system's never been debatable. And I knew that God was going to make me a vessel. I just wasn't ready to accept it. I didn't know that I was going to be an advocate for people. more so than I thought it was just a focus on mothers. And now my grief and my counseling for people is no race, no age, no gender. It extends pretty extensively around the world. And so if I didn't have, if I kept having the heart attacks and I kept like quitting on myself, the people who I've helped, I would have never met them.
Wow. So when the doctor told you that it was literally in your mind and that you had to move on, was that the beginning of you being able to take the next step?
Absolutely. I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I wanted to understand that I was creating my own suicide by just not accepting. I wasn't going to kill myself. I wasn't going to take no pills, but I just wasn't trying to let go. And I can remember doing like a small sabbatical where people were calling and asking my daughter, like, why she not picking up the phone? She like, she don't even have no phone. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just didn't have no phone. I wasn't talking, so I didn't need to have it. I didn't need people to reach me. I wasn't trying to talk. They didn't have no answers. And at the time, our family had not had a death in probably 26 something years. And my son is the first tragedy ever. And everybody else was living. So no one understood my plight. And like, y'all got y'all kids. I even tell my mother, she like, what's going on? I'm like, and she would get to a point where she would not really understand. And I didn't expect her to. But I had to then say, man, you got all your kids. If you want to call them and talk to them, you can. If you want to hug them, you can. Man, I'm not trying. Quit calling me. Like, I'm good, right? And I think that people expect you to get over death. If you're really, really humanly, consciously alert to life, you never will. It's just a new normal for your life. You're never going to get over it. You just learn how to live with their absence.
Wow. And that answers my question. Do you get over it? But I like the way you put it. It's a new normal. You just get better at living with their absence. And your children at this time, how was their school? How were their grades? How were their relationships affected by it? What were they going through?
So my daughter, who's 15, she challenged through. She amazed me. Today is her birthday, actually. She challenged through, and she got the Challenger Award at graduation. She finished strong. She got a full academic scholarship to college just 2 years later.
Wow. Awesome. Congratulations.
I always kept her, like she was a cheerleader. Cheer's been life for us forever. So she was a cheer from 4 years old all the way through college. Like, it's like, we're going to keep you active. Like, we can't stop at this point. But I knew I was really all they had because he was such a leader for them. And it was like, all right, well, you can't catch the school bus no more. You're 15 or whatever. So she was like, yeah, we're not going to stop my life. I'm going to learn to drive and go drive myself to school. And imagine me like, oh, you can't drive? No, wait a minute. We ain't doing no car stuff again, right? But she like, so we're not living in fear. Mom, we got to keep going. But she excelled. My middle child, I would be remiss to say he's never gotten over it. He's tried drugs. He's been in and out of jail. He has not understood really what it looks like to grieve. He wasn't trying to hear it. Now, mind you, he's 9 when he dies, and that's his big brother who was his hero. So in his world, where is heaven? What are you talking about?
Right.
Where is that? How we get there? When we going? What are we waiting on? What are you talking about? Right? I didn't go see my brother. And then when I had to try to educate him in a 9-year-old way, I was getting frustrated because I can't lie. And I'm really not lying. I just can't explain death yet. And so for me, not having to really understand death, my grandmother had just died, my father had just died, and then my son died. So my kids was like, come on, bruh, what are we doing? How you do this? And I had no answers.
Right.
So I'm trying to send them to therapy. I'm not doing it yet, but I'm knowing that it's important. I've always knew it was important. So I'm trying to send them to therapy, and he getting in therapy like, man, what are these folks talking about? I'm good. Let's go. So I never reached him. And then I would get him mentors. He was in everything. Football, basketball. I'm running an AAU practice. I'm in and out the park, in and out the gym. You know, he getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's just like the feet kept growing. And we hustling and grinding and trying to figure it out. And I'm trying to keep him active. I'm like, this ain't working. I don't stand up and pee. I don't understand him. He a boy.
Right.
This ain't working. And I was like, you got to quit thinking we supposed to die with him. We got to live again, bruh. And I said, I'm going to have to free you.
Wow.
And if I free you, know that doesn't mean I don't love you. But the dope and I'm good. I don't even know where you get that from. Chilling at your homeboy house on the couch, where you get that from? Don't want to work, where you get that from? So if this what you want, I'm going to rock with you when you want to rock with me. But knowing you got to rock with me, we got to do the right thing. And so I love him from afar. And I just pray for him and pay his life insurance.
I like it. Hey, just give me some advice as a parent, because sometimes we have to make very tough decisions in order to try and help our children to improve. Whatever, they got to live their own journey. Everybody got to walk their own walk.
Facts. And we'll coddle. Parents is easy to enable.
Tell me about it.
Can't enable no man. He got to be a leader of his house one day. So enabling a man make him soft. Gotta let him go.
Wow. That's some deep words from Dr. Cynthia Williams. Did you seek counseling?
Yes, I still seek counseling.
Okay.
Being a counselor. So counseling for people, I tell people right now, I'm telling you right now, you see a therapist every time you can, just like you do dentists and physicians for whatever measure. Put therapy in there. Don't not have therapy. Listen
to what the doctor's teaching. And she's teaching you these is facts.
Yeah, you gotta schedule it. Just like you scared when something go wrong, I gotta call the doctor.
Exactly.
Your mind is always enabled to a degree because you have not allowed it to evolve, because there's not a human walking the earth without some form of trauma.
Wow, not a human walking the earth.
Not one.
So to live is to experience trauma.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the goal is to resolve it and live without it until the next sense of it comes. So you're not exempt. There's no human exempt from pain and trauma. You just got to learn how to manage it.
I like it. All right. So my question for you is, okay, you said yes, of course. You even seek counseling today. Mm-hmm. Before your son's passing, had you went to counseling or therapy before that, or was the therapy a result of your son's passing? It was
definitely a result of his passing. Okay. It was a result of his passing.
Now, was this before or after the doctor told you this isn't, you gotta get over this in your head, or you're gonna commit?
This was after
suicide. This was after.
This was after.
Okay.
Yeah, this was after.
Did it help? Yeah, tell us about it.
And so, really, for me, when I went to therapy, I had to evolve. Like when you get to therapy, you have to help us help you, right? Who are you, right? So even for me, my very first assignment for my clients is tell me where your brain has taken your feet. Who are you? Where have you been? What have you done? What have you been around? What you get into? What's happening? Like, really, let's talk about it, right?
Okay.
And I'm very.
So the beginning of it is a getting to know.
It's your timeline of events.
Okay.
Because once I know your timeline of events, then I can find out when the breakdown came in, where life shifted for you to create the human you are today. So people don't understand that the majority of the issues that adults hold, childhood trauma and abandonment and things that they think is buried, it's like this artichoke, right? It's like the core of the artichoke is the human. And then there's layers on top of it that covers up who you really are. And the layers are the issues of your life that you try to cover up and not deal with. But the clock and the calendar keeps going.
Wait a minute. Can Can you go over that again? Because that was
Absolutely.
kind of complex. You said it's like an artichoke, and it's like layers.
Have you ever seen an artichoke broken
have.
down? Okay, so you know there's a core in the middle of it, right?
Right.
And then there's layers to the artichoke.
Okay.
The human body of where you were before a trauma hit you is like that core in the middle of the artichoke.
Okay.
very
Deep
rarely
underneath all of the
touched.
many different layers.
Absolutely. And the layers are just things that you've been through, who you are.
They keep going on top of the core.
Yeah. But notice that they've never been touched. So you just keep covering it up with other stuff, right? So in order for me to really help you, I got to get to that core.
You
So
got to
we
peel
gotta
back the layers.
Got to peel back the layers. And you're going to give me what the layers are.
So you're saying that somebody can't just, like a lot of times, men, they just shut stuff out of whatever it is. They just, they don't even think about it. I ain't even going to deal with it.
Yeah, but
That's not me. I don't need it. You saying that's not true?
Oh, no, you can't do that.
No matter how much you
where
shut
do
it
you
out,
think
it
it
don't do
goes?
It's still there. It's going to stay there.
Yeah, if you ain't never dealt with it, it don't go nowhere. But somewhere in that brain, now that I've broken down the brain, right? It goes in that 5% bracket because it can't go into 75%. Your issue is not going to help you walk, talk, or use the bathroom. All right. That's 75% is just for that. The other 15 to 20 is your reading, writing, math. It don't go in there.
Okay.
It goes in the 5%, which takes the average human in a negative. And then you go into things that we call STIRBs, which is, it's an acronym for short-term energy releasing behavior syndrome.
Wait a minute. I got to do this again. Short-term energy releasing behavior
syndrome.
STIRBs.
Yeah.
STERBS.
STERBS. Those is your
STIRBs.
alcohol, drugs, food, sex, getting money, whatever.
Addictions.
Addictions.
To try and hide from and run from.
Yeah.
And pretend like whatever really is deep down in the core, in the middle of that artichoke didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it did happen.
It did. So that's why it's short term.
And you keep chasing them.
Keep chasing them. Right? And as you know, you somewhere with somebody and, you know, it's like you 6 drinks in. Well, the brain shuts the tongue down after so many drinks. Probably 3, depending on, probably 2 if it's moonshine, but definitely 3 if it's regular, right?
Does it? Wow.
Right? Gone. You don't even know what's happening. You ask somebody what happened, where I come from last night, where I get home, right? Those kind of things. Because the brain like, let me put dude in overload. I'm going to take over here. It's over. You don't even know. You're unconscious.
Wow.
Yeah, you're unconscious. You
That's
don't
what a
really
blackout
know.
is to some extent.
That's what exactly. You don't know what's going on. You're just not dead, but you're unconscious for real. You just get, using the bathroom on yourself because again, the brain does it all.
You didn't do anything.
Exactly.
That's why you wake up in the morning looking in the mirror like,
what
have I done?
Exactly, because you don't know.
Right.
Right. And God keeps you. So that's that piece. But it becomes habitual. You hear somebody who smoked drugs like, roll up. Man, we just rolled up. What are you talking about? Roll up again, bro. We just rolled up.
You not still high?
Exactly. Right? Because it's like, it's not gone yet.
Short term.
It's not gone yet. Then when it kicks in and the memory's not there of what you don't want to think about, you in a happy space. So you think.
Wait, say that again?
You're in a happy place.
You're in a happy space. Okay.
And then now it's like it wears off, right? Because it's only temporary. And that's why it comes habitual. So you pick it up again. Some people are much more severe than others. And some people are functioning. They're functioning drug addicts and functioning alcoholics. They're going to get up and go to work because their mindset also is, I got to care for me and whoever's attached to me. So to quit on myself and be this homeless person is not everybody. And all homeless people don't have habits. It's something they have, but it's not all considered drugs and alcohol and those type of things.
Wow. That's, and I would bet, and I haven't done any research on it, any studies, but I would bet, and you can tell me what you think, that the majority of people, they never get to that core. Or at least
average human does not.
That's what I figured.
Probably like 92% of people do not.
They just continue to chase those habits
forever
until it's all forever.
And that's what causes the habitual trauma and historical trauma, because when the people don't deal with it, they have sex and create children. They're automatically DNAing this trauma to their children. Hence, you could see yourself saying, oh, my child is doing what I do because we made it normal. So on your baby's 18th birthday, you like, here, take a shot.
Why? Right. I got you.
Right? Or now you cool and your kid old enough to go to the grocery store. They 18, 19. Bring me some blunts. Roll up. Come on with this. Work. This who we are. This normal in our world. But it's normal trauma. It's normal toxicity. It's normal dysfunction. But what I know, if this is all I know, who gonna tell me different, right? Learn behavior. We're sponging it. These kids see what we do, so they just complete it and compete with it to themselves. So everybody does it. It's kind of like your baby 15 and she passing out baby shower invitations.
That's not very good. This is not the type of generational thing you want to pass on.
Nah, it ain't cool.
This is not productive.
Such a birthday party, right? So you want 15-year-old girls to think if I have sex, I'm finna get all these gifts and a real baby doll?
That's right.
Stop. Knock it off.
Yeah. And then in our community, we want to say, listen, a healthy baby, I get the understanding that, you have a baby, there's going to be some degree of happiness. We're all born to procreate. But you're right, in our communities, it's like, when is it not a celebration when a child gets another child pregnant?
Well, here's the thing.
I've had this conversation in my family.
I would be remiss to say this in a way, right? We know the act of sex creates a baby. We get that.
Right.
But if everybody got pregnant after sex, they would have millions of kids.
That's right.
Yes? So because every child's baby has a purpose in the Lamb's Book of Life, we know that we got to stop giving humans so much credit for being parents, because God says when they're going to be them.
I love the fact that you said that, because I've had this conversation with my own children at various stages and other, younger people.
Yeah.
Because listen, sometimes when there's a younger person that gets another person pregnant and they're like, oh, you're going to the baby shower. There's a conflict with me because, like I like to say, listen, it's no huge accomplishment to get someone pregnant.
Right.
Like you said.
Right.
Like, where's the accomplishment for that?
Right.
I'd much rather celebrate, you graduated from college, or maybe you're getting married to someone that, that the rest of the family embraces, and we think this is going to be you're going to be the beginning of building a family, or you started a business, or you got hired at a good company, or you got a promotion. But just the act of having sex and getting someone pregnant is no accomplishment in my mind.
I mean, and no judgment too, right? Because we all have sex.
That's right.
Right?
And we've all messed up.
Exactly.
I'm the king of messing up.
But when we start looking at life that it's the purpose than anything else, then that's when we want to figure out, well, this is part of my path. I'm stop questioning him. You know what I mean? I'm going to stop questioning him. This is my past.
Right.
If I wasn't a teen parent, I wouldn't have understood this.
Right.
But I didn't want my daughter to be one. So when people always ask, like, every year on her birthday, I told you today is her birthday. So every year on her birthday, I have to tell her who I am, who I was, what I went through, good, bad, or indifferent, for her to know what curses to break.
Wow.
And if I didn't tell her and keep her closed in with it, like, she's 33, so she already think I'm like a fool. She like, what? Why would you do that? And now to explain it to her, because I raised her differently, she thinks some of the choices I made as a young adult is just crazy. Like, what? Right. Because she wasn't raised like that.
Right.
But for me, it was a little normal.
Right.
Right.
She almost can't even believe that. She
like,
choices.
Girl. Like, and look at me like, what? Because she has no idea.
Right.
Never would it be her life. Never will be your life.
Right. Okay. So that's a good segue for, I want to ask you, going back in your past again. And, we all have a past. We've all suffered from some form of trauma, as you say. Yeah. No human is immune. You ended up doing some time incarcerated,
yes.
Physically in prison, right? And tell us about that. When did that happen? How did you end up getting incarcerated? You know, what were the charges and what were the choices that you made to lead to that?
So I came off the porch really early, probably about 14.
Okay.
Really did.
All
about
right.
early. I started selling weed.
I can relate.
Yeah. Started selling weed, smoking weed, doing what I need to do. My parents divorced when I was
This was in Milwaukee?
Yes. It was in Milwaukee. So my parents divorced when I was about 8. And the bills went down, right? We stayed in a 2-income home. At one point, it was like 7 of us in the house. And then it got to a point where it was just me and my mother. Everybody were adults. And I'm the youngest of 5, so most of them are older. But she wasn't able to make ends meet. And it became embarrassing for me because I pretty much has always had what I wanted and needed, right? They would say I'm spoiled, but it was just me and her for a moment. And
your parents was 8 when you divorced.
I was 8 when they divorced.
I mean, you were 8 when your parents divorced.
Yeah.
And so when you start thinking about noticing this is a struggle on my mom, and you say
I
it was
was
just
about
too
9.
hard. Wow. Okay, just a year
I was
later.
about 9 and realized this ain't making sense.
At 9 years old, you had that in your mind.
Yeah. At 9 years old, I told my parents, I don't know what y'all like. She would say, your dad can call here. I'm like, he not calling for you. He calling for me. That makes no sense for me you can't pawn me because I know him my whole life. Right. So this guy taught me I was latchkey at 6.
Okay.
My dad taught me how to ride the city bus. I wasn't on no school bus. We went to a Lutheran school. So I caught the city bus from school every day to my house, 45 blocks. Wow. And then walked from 2 blocks from Burleigh to Locust every day, 6 years old. Opened the door, let myself in, made me a sandwich, turned my TV on, and waited for somebody to come home. I knew the rule. Don't touch the phone, don't touch the door. I'm 6. He taught me survival tactics that I learned and use today. So you can't pawn me across my dad, and I wasn't going. So then I would get to my grandmother's house, like, hey, meet me at your mama's house. We going there after church. And then I get to kick it with you because she says you can't come over here. I'm 9. I was already setting up the life I have today. I didn't even know it then till I know now. Like, toxicity made no sense to me. And when stuff got turned off, I'm like, I got to figure out how to get some money because stuff was getting turned off. Hot plates, warming up water, candles, doing homework, just survival stuff, tactics, right? My mother never knew how to live without my dad. She moved from her parents' house to my dad. Right. So for 25 some years, she never went without, right? But then when he broke her heart, I don't think she knew how to balance life without him, but she wanted to stand her ground. I get it. Women do it all the time.
Right.
But I tell people all the time, if sex your deal breaker, is it really love?
Wow.
Because that's crazy. Now, knowing who I am today and what I do, that's another thing I can't wait to get to heaven to hear about. What was wrong with my dad? Because he was a loose man. He was an alcoholic. Knowing all of these things that I saw as a young girl, I never knew his story, right? Something happened. Whatever happened to him and whatever was the layer under his core, I needed to know, and I don't know, right? I only knew after I became a professional in it. Something happened with my mother. She was different. I know now. It all makes sense who they were.
Some type of trauma is what you're referring to.
Yeah, severe. I'm talking about severe.
That they never dealt with.
Never dealt with. Died with it. So when it wasn't making sense, I went outside. You know, I've always been a cute girl in my world, right? I've always been kind of fly in what I do. So getting men wasn't a thing, right? They didn't teach me about my body and stuff. They taught me about money first.
Gotcha.
So I went a loose girl. Like, as a matter of fact, it was like, you don't even weigh up how much money you got. If you didn't have no money, y'all couldn't even kick it with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what, you got a car? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm already there because I'm looking for the things my dad would give me that my mom couldn't and wasn't no other man to do it. So I'm like, if you going to come on with it, you got to come on with it. And I need right? And if you can't give me that, I don't want to talk. Right? We ain't doing it. So about 15, I meet my son's father. He fly. He already street. He already having money. I'm like, where you get them new tennis shoes from? Why every time I see you got a new shoes, how you do that, right? Because at this point, I'm trying to figure out what's going on in our house that everybody else.
Yeah, this
like,
cat's younger.
What y'all doing, right?
He get money every day.
And then they hung out and they showed me how to get some weed, bag it up, weigh it up. And I'm selling it to people, but I don't really know what I'm doing yet. And then when I know what I'm doing, it go crazy. Then it does like anything else, right? I meet the next guy who is another street guy or whatever. And I'm pregnant with my second child. I'm pregnant with my daughter at the time. They already into the real work.
This is in the 80s? Or
yeah,
early 90s?
This late 80s.
Late 80s, okay.
89, 90.
Yeah, so this is when drugs is exploding in America.
Oh, man.
This is a crack, cocaine epidemic.
Man.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Hip-hop is on the scene.
It's ridiculous.
You get money, you're young. 15-year-old Cynthia. All right?
It's ridiculous.
All right, so.
Get me a car. Now I'm really rolling, right? Now I got pregnant again, and so then I meet him while I'm pregnant. He got Rolex.
You got Christopher at this point.
I got Christopher. He like 2.
Right.
He got Rolex, cars, music.
So you like 19.
Yeah,
somewhere
I'm 19.
around that age.
I'm absolutely 19.
All right.
And I'm like, hey, man, hold on. Now I feel like I'm working too hard because I know how much that costs, right? Like, and we can't buy that.
Right.
So how y'all do that? Then they turned me on to like crack. And when I seen it, my mind said, I've seen people on it. Don't touch it. Don't do it. Right. I smoke some weed. That's nothing.
Right.
But don't touch it. Don't do it. But didn't know that you had to. I didn't know the concept of touching it would make something numb on me.
Okay.
So they ain't teaching me this, right? I learned I got to eventually use gloves because I wiped my face one time on some money and count some money. Yeah, everything just numb. I'm like, what? No. Right? So I'm learning these things, but I'm too far gone. And I'm 19. I'm a street millionaire at that time.
Wow.
It's gone.
You was getting it for real.
They couldn't stop me. It was ridiculous, right?
Yeah. How you going to go back to anything else? You getting that type of money at 19 years old. How the hell you going to decide I'm just going to stop and work a job?
Yeah, you can't. It's not an option.
Right.
Right. So leave him alone. I meet another guy whose dad is like a huge drug dealer in the city. Well, really his dad tried to holler at me first, but I had already been molested. So in my mind, I was molested at 6. So the old dude wasn't getting no action because you disgusting, right? Like, we ain't going there.
Gotcha.
But do you got some sons or brothers or cousins or something? Because I see y'all really doing what y'all doing already, but I'm going to get part of it, but it won't be you. So who you got? And then they put me on his son. And I met his son that I knew by way of other things and people in the city, like parties and stuff. He was a DJ, and I knew him. We both went to like parochial schools, but we were sister schools type things. So I would see him at games and stuff, but he really wasn't my type at the time. And when I found out that was his son, I'm like, I'm in there. Because he already wanted to holler at me anyway, right? So I'm like, I'm in there.
He was like, bet.
But we went to like
Kingpin son.
Like 9, for real. Like 9 ounces or something, and that wasn't enough money, right? And so then at that point, I knew I was addicted to the money itself, worse than a drug. So it didn't dawn on me how quickly you evolve in that world. It just didn't dawn on me. I mean, I'm having my way, whatever I want, whenever I want, however. So I ended up moving out of Milwaukee after a few years. They tried to kidnap me and kill me, and they couldn't catch me.
Just the streets.
Man, pulled up on me one day coming from the beauty shop, followed me from the beauty shop, followed me all the way to my house. Pulled up a van full of dudes with a mask on, and it's warm out. They got on winter coats and masks. Like, I'd always been a fighter type thing. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, opened the door, jumped out with guns. I'm like, man, I'm finna die.
Because they knew you had that check.
Man, I fought. I went to grabbing and pulling and biting and punching, and he dropped me in the middle of the street so hard I hit my head, and it was blood all over, but it was my fingernails breaking, and I was digging in this face and skin, and I ain't going like this. Like,
not today.
Nah, not never.
Right.
I ain't going like this. Like, you just got to kill me, right? You can't kidnap me, bro. Like that, I'm not going. Like,
Right.
how you going? Then they got me picked up off the ground. And so once I grabbed the dude, my fingernail must have went in his eye, and he just dropped me trying to grab his face. And then the dude driving, who I found out did it later, said, "Let's go." And I heard his voice, but I couldn't. The trauma wouldn't let me recognize who the voice was, right? I didn't realize it till years later who it was, but
Wow, you did realize it. Okay.
I did. Oh, yeah. I seen him, and I said something to him, too. But I literally was like, man, that's it. So I left the whole house. I'm talking about it's a whole furnished house, clothes, a car. I left everything, jumped on a plane, and moved to Atlanta.
That's how you came to Atlanta.
That's how I came to Atlanta. I stayed in the Hilton on Virginia Avenue about 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that Hilton very well.
Couldn't find nowhere to stay. Didn't know nothing about it. I mean, didn't know nothing about it. I had come here for Freaknik one time, and that's the hotel we stayed in, so I knew how to get there. So I went to that hotel, and I just was like checking out and checking in. Because at that time, you had to have your ID and stuff to check in hotels. You know what I'm saying? So that you could just pay the hotel or whatever, and I was paranoid that they could follow me, so I just was checking rooms.
Oh, okay.
Going from room to room, like, crazy. No, you don't got to clean up in here. When it was time for me for them to clean up, I would just check out and go get another room.
Gotcha.
Because I'm shaking and paranoid. So finally, he says, well, I'm going to move too. And my mother was like, well, the kids not moving because I don't want nothing to happen to them. So she wouldn't let the kids kind of move with me. And about 4 or 5 months later, I went and got the kids, and then I bought a nanny to live at the house with them.
Right.
So wouldn't nobody do nothing to them. Miss Barbara, Miss Barbara was my nanny for years.
Okay.
Then I got pregnant with my third child.
Okay.
So I got pregnant with my third child, and I'm done. That was my game stopper. Like, I ain't sell no more dope. But he didn't stop. So when the feds come, right, they go in, they hit everybody's house.
How much years later how much longer was this after, once you stopped and then they came?
About 5 years.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because my daughter and my son are 6 years apart.
Okay, so they came, they hit everything. So you're in Atlanta?
I'm in Atlanta.
So was you still hustling with people in Milwaukee and Atlanta? Was this multi-state or how did that
he
work?
was. I was done.
He was. Okay, right.
I stopped.
Right.
He got me pregnant. Back to back.
Okay, but they were still doing their hustling in Milwaukee.
So when they was coming, they had knew that I had stopped. Like they even said it, but they said he didn't. The judge was like, "Y'all just wouldn't stop," and then he said, "Well, he wouldn't stop because we knew when you stopped."
Yeah,
but they had already been watching us, right?
Okay, they was already investigating you from even before you left. Milwaukee.
Because unbeknownst to us, his best friend was an informant.
Oh.
And when I read the indictment and the discovery, and they was talking about us driving to the Circle City Classic, it said we drove our Benzes, and he was the only person with the Benz. So I'll go to the jail one day, and I show him like, yeah, this your partner. He talking about, nah. And I'm like, I can read. I'm smart. Dude is the informant. So that's how they was on us for so long.
Wow.
And he kept coming around. He never stopped because he was really his best friend. And so he had a backdoor life with his best friend's sister. And he gave her some work, and she got caught, and that's how the domino and her entire empire shut down because she got caught with 18 ounces. And they hit everybody's house at the same time, probably about 17 of us. At the same time, about 6 a.m, but we weren't in the house. I was in New York about to open up a boutique, so I had flew to New York, and I'm in New York. I had literally taped a whole bunch of money to my body because I could still go through security at the time with the money on me. And my mother called where are you? And I was like, well, I'm in New York. And she was like, you can't go home. The feds it's on the news. They in everybody's house. They at your house. They got the guns on Miss Barbara and the babies. And we going to go get the kids because they had Miss Barbara call my mother to come get the kids. So I threw the phone away. I'm like, well, it's over. Right. That shit. I took the phone, threw the phone out, done. And I had a Lexus at the time, brand new Lexus. I just got the Lexus. I knew they had my car. So we split up. I'm like, well, we can't both go back to Georgia. I'm going to go back and you go back. So we was on the same flight, but we split the flights. He went to Milwaukee. I went to Georgia. I got to Georgia and they was already gone because I paused for some days and they was already out. So Miss Barbara was like, well, your sister, I'm going to keep the kids till your sister come and get the kids or whatever. So when I flew back, I had to go get rid of my car because I know they knew it was flashy and it wasn't many people had them at the time. Right. So I went and got the car and dumped it. Like, all right, we're going to dump the car. We're just going to figure out. So I took a cab and my mind went smart. Like, where would they look for me at? Definitely at my house, right? We had businesses and stuff. And like, no, they already been in the business. We know they're going to come there. I'm not going to come there. So I went to the hospital. And I stayed in the hospital for about 12 hours, going from floor to floor, just eating out the vending machines. Like, they ain't going to find me in here. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I went from like floor to floor, just walking around the hospital, just trying to figure it out, right? Like, what I'm going to do, right? I can't go home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know what to do.
Never figure me out here.
Yeah,
for at least 12 hours.
For like 12 hours. I literally didn't. So then my sister came and she took the kids. And then like, I'm really free at this time. But I couldn't talk to him. I didn't have no phone. So finally, he called like by way of somebody else and told me to go. Where our signals was like, go where I brought you that blue dress you just had to have that
Got
day,
you. Right.
type thing. I'm like, that's a flight. Like, this thing trying to set me up. So on my mind, like, what's he talking about? I can't take no flight. So I had my auntie go to the airport, pay for a ticket in her name,
right.
And I walked through the flight on her name. And
because back then you didn't even have to show ID, not even at the airport.
Didn't have
right?
to do that, right.
This was pre-2001 or something like that.
Yeah. And so I went and got on the flight in my auntie name and he was there. And we was on the run for about a year.
Oh, okay.
And then I got pregnant while we was on the run. And I came back and I told my attorney, like, I can't run no more. I just got to get this over with. And he called him. They was like, we don't want her. We want him. Tell her to tell us where he at. I'm like, I don't know where he at. Like, and I really didn't because I left him. Like, I don't know where he at. And so they couldn't find him for a minute. So that was probably some months because I know that I had a baby. I had the baby like in November. And we went to court and all of that. They put me on a bracelet for a minute. And then they had let me self-surrender. And I self-surrendered after I had the baby. But they had took everything. I started stripping because I had no money. I couldn't get no job. Right? I'm saying I'm in the middle of the case. Right? So it's like you can't get no job. You can't really do nothing. They froze all my accounts, took everything out of my house, took all our cars. I had no asset, like none.
Yeah. So you're in survival mode.
Survival mode.
You got kids. You going, this is crazy.
Yeah,
you're scared. You look like you're going to be facing time. They probably threatening the hell out of you.
All of that.
17 people on the indictment.
But crazy. I once, like, it was weird because I'd never experienced it. I had never been to jail before. But I was just like, I was so ready to get it over with. It was like, man, just do what y'all got to do. Whatever. They was like, we're going to take your kids. Man, take them. What you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't fight about that. Like, it was driving me crazy. So I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm done. Y'all just come and take me. So that they wouldn't. And then one day they came, they pulled up on me. And I was just coming back. I was getting ready to go to I'm back on mode now, really. But I'm doing some stuff, but I'm making money.
Right.
But it ain't like that. I really wasn't touching no work, no nothing, but I'm making money. And so I'm getting ready to go to Miami to the Super Bowl, right? Okay. Miami in the Super Bowl that year. That'd be 98, 99, okay. I think it is. It's 98. Because 97, it was in New Orleans. And I always caught them. I always went to Super Bowls and All-Star games, stuff like that. Right. So, yeah. So they pull up. Them people. And I go pull up. And they at my house. But I ain't want them to arrest me in front of my children. So I said, hey, come follow me. So the chick, she in like a white Lexus. And a black chick, too. And so she followed me. And I said, I'm going to pull up over here. I ain't drive fast. They wouldn't sweat me. But boy, when I pulled up to where I told her to go to, which was my business, it was so many cars. I got a whole blunt in my hand. I probably got about 8,000 on me. And I said, y'all can tell all them police to leave. I'm not getting out. I ain't got no pistol. Y'all know how y'all been watching me. I'm not finna even get out. I'm in a plaza on Reedon and South Harrison. There's a Blockbuster Plaza, so it's people everywhere. These folks everywhere.
Yeah, they want to make a whole
county there.
spectacle
I'm
about
like, man, I'm not finna get out. Y'all not finna get me like this, right? So the dude was like, well, listen, you know, we got to arrest you. You knew we was coming. I said, I didn't know y'all was coming. I asked to turn myself in because I don't want to go through this like that. And then he was like, I said, so I'm tell you now, I'm finna finish my blunt. And then when y'all could tell the police to leave, and then I'll let you take me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't running. You can have the keys. And then I threw the keys out and rolled the window back up, right? And he was like, she's there for real. Like, I ain't going. So I saw them start leaving. I said, and then I'm about to walk in my business, and y'all can arrest me in the back door. You're not finna arrest me in front of all these people, my customers and stuff. I mean, I'm not about to do that. So he was like, all right. So I walked through, and the chick was like, you really, I've been following you all day. I said, I saw you. When I went and got my hair braided that morning, you waited. You know, that was a long time. So now when we making a joke out of it, kind of a sort of like, you stupid. You waited for me to get my hair braided? Like, them was hours. Then she was like, I'm just doing my job. So they arrest me. They put me in the back of the Lexus. It's an unmarked car. Put me in the back of this white Lexus. And she said, we're going to take you downtown. And your case already started, but we really just arresting you for Wisconsin. We don't really know. You're going to be extradited. I'm like, okay. So the judge gave me a bond.
Okay, the case stemmed from Wisconsin, but they arrested you here in Atlanta.
Yep.
Got you. All right.
So the judge gave me a bond I don't think he was supposed to. So he gave me a bond of $50,000, and I pay it and get out the next day. So they come and get me again.
Oh, my
Send me back to Wisconsin with no bond and make me do a property bond. So then my grandma
through transit and all of this
all
nonsense.
of that. Yeah. So my grandmother.
You got a 019 number.
I do. 089 number.
Yours is zero. Okay.
It's 089.
I'm 019. It's allowed.
Yeah.
Maybe they switched the number.
089.
I was years later.
Because
Right?
my case still was out of Wisconsin, so I still had that case number. Yeah. So, yeah, man. Then I ended up, my grandmother had to put her house up, which was a strategic God move too, because she was losing a house and no one knew it. And once the Fed said I had to do a house property bond, I had to sit in jail till my family them got the paperwork right for me to even use the house. I'm like, what is y'all on? Back on that again. Like, ain't nobody, y'all not paying the bills? Come on, bro. Like, what is y'all on? And so we had to wait. But then they wouldn't give me a bond for a minute because there was another informant on the case. It was like my sister-in-law. And she said that I threatened to hurt her or kill her or something. So they wouldn't give me no bond for a minute. So I had to go in front of the bond judge to say, man, I ain't told her that. I just want to get home to my kids for the little time I got. So I ended up giving 15 months and did 15 months in Pekin. Came home, went to the halfway house.
Where's Pekin?
Illinois.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I knew that name.
Yeah. It was life-changing. It was like, they don't call you by your name. You just know your number.
Right. You still remember that number?
Nah, bro. Okay.
Put it way behind you.
Yeah.
Buried it deep. Okay.
That ain't my name.
Right. Ain't no question.
That ain't my name. It'll never be my name again.
So doing time, I mean, so that was obviously a turning point in your life, or another turning point. Well,
that was traumatic. That was the reality of this ain't my toilet, this ain't my shower. Who food is this? Who clothes is this? What am I doing here? I knew that I was too smart, but I used to blame my family dynamic for unlearned financial literacy, for unlearned morals and values of blending families. Things that we should have learned to prevent having to sell drugs, or just things that, the dynamic of our parents breaking up and not even sticking to the same morals and values they taught us. I just kind of blamed that. And then I realized, after a certain age, it's my own self-inflicted choices. And it's for me to make sure my kids just don't understand what it was. So I was gone. They were young enough to think I was in school. And then I had to tell them. So I came home and I had to share. But I think the most traumatic part was it was a camp. And I really could walk out the door, but I really couldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, we're going to try you.
Right.
Right. And you had every opportunity in the world to either be the person they thought you were or come out knocking stuff down and being a better part of you. And I realized that that wasn't a place for me, but I had to take on that, right? It wasn't until my son died that I gratefully rebuked and resented that I did it. For years, I was just as addicted to the money as the drugs I sold. But I didn't think about who would have overdosed. I didn't think about women were raped for it. I didn't think if anybody was murdered about it. I didn't think about children who were left without their parents because of it. None of that crossed my mind because my addiction was just as worse as the drugs I sold. It wasn't until I buried my son that my prayer to God was, oh man, I didn't think about that, God. That's why you taking him? Oh, who died from that dope I sold? It's so far out my mind at the time my son dies. Like, I'm home 3 years at the time, right? So at the time, I'm like, I ain't never doing that again, right? I never did it again, right? In all these years, I've been home 24 years, right? So it's just a part of my life. It was a part of a very small part of my life that was part of learned lessons, but I had to pay that. I had to pay that. I had to pay them dues.
Wow.
And I knew it would come back. I just didn't know how.
So I like to say that when people are faced with a situation like incarceration or different type of traumas or struggles or adversity that we might have to go through, you can make a determination to come out bitter or better. Obviously, we can see that you obviously made that determination to come out better. Mm-hmm. When did you start making that determination and get that mindset change? Was it as soon as they took you into custody the second time and extradited, and basically, took you through transit back to Milwaukee? Was it once you were sentenced, or were you in your actually doing the time? And then, what was the moment for you where you was like, yo, I can't do this no more. I can't leave my family.
Well, I knew once I had to drive yourself to the prison was like, that's unheard of, right? That's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people that
right. It's like, what? Why would you self-surrender? You can take yourself to jail.
It's another mind fuck.
That's a whole nother one, right? Like, that's different than you get arrested and then you stay in the county till they transition you, right?
Right.
But to drive yourself to jail, that's crazy. So while in jail, I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm not doing this no more. But then my probation officer, he was an older white guy and he loved the gargoyles. So you remember that show back then, the gargoyles with the little, with the wings and sitting on. And so he believed in me.
You out on bond at this point?
No, this one I'm done.
Oh, when you done?
Yeah, when I still had a probation.
Oh, so it didn't dawn on you. Okay.
Yeah, well, parole rather.
All right, got you.
And he believed in me because I was sitting there talking to them and he was like, you different. And that's the first person that believed in me when I got out.
Wow.
First person.
A probation officer.
Yeah.
A older white guy.
Yep.
You never know who could touch your life.
That's right. When I say I'll never forget that man, he used to be like, you did your paperwork? Yeah. And I used to do it early. I want y'all out my business. I ain't trying to be doing nothing. I'm not coming back. I need y'all out my business. So what I got to do? And he'll tell me I do it early. I ain't never dropped dirty, none of that. He was like, you're wasting my paperwork. And literally was like, I'm about to release you, right? So after I got released from his paper way before I was supposed to. And he was literally like, you can get you a job. This is what I want you to tell the lady, whoever gonna hire you. So I went to work at a job, a telecommunications company. And I told the lady my whole story. If you just give me a chance, I'm gonna show you I'm gonna do the right thing. And the lady was like, wow. So I went back like, hey, she gave me the job. And he was like, I told you.
It works.
Red, like, I told you. And I got the job and I took off. And I took off from there. And then I just kept elevating in the company. Just kept elevating. Then I found another company that did the same thing. And they paid more money. So that's when I knew I started learning the corporate game. Like, this sucked though. I don't know how y'all work 40 hours and get paid 2 weeks after you work. You crazy. That still don't make sense to me today. Right? Like, so I work for y'all for 40 hours, but I don't get my check till after 80 hours.
Right.
Crazy as hell. I'm not doing that. Like, that don't work. I don't understand that.
Right,
so I still got a street concept when it comes to getting money. Like, I'm not waiting 40 hours for no paycheck. I'm not doing that. So then I started realizing I'm a leader. Don't forget. If I could sell this, I could sell that. Then I'm like, I probably could sell water to a whale because I'm cold. I probably could sell ice to an Eskimo. I'm cold. Then I said, what's your purpose? Who are you? What do you do? Still got my child. I don't know this shit. So God was just setting me up. Shortly after that, my grandmother died. Now, I mean, I'm 33 years old before I ever experienced death of a family member. 33. Then my dad died 2 months later on my grandmother's birthday, who had just died. That's his mama. And he died and he was in the house. And he was so disappointed in me selling drugs and going to prison. He was just so disappointed because, mind you, that's my dog right there, right? He teach me life. He like, no, you get to go to work. You don't do that, right? But I'm just like, you didn't grow up like me. Not ever really knowing that I was trying to justify my behavior because I kept, again, blaming the family dynamic. And I'm showing him, well, you shouldn't have left. You left me. What y'all wanted me to do? I'm asking for money. Y'all ain't paying lunch dues and all kind of stuff, dude. Y'all not paying nothing. What you want me to do? Like, why y'all want me to be broke? Where does this come from? I never understood it. Like 19 years old. How do you go to work every day and the light get cut off?
I'm not used to this broke-ish.
Yeah, like, what is this? I don't understand this.
Right.
So, but he was disappointed because I still did it anyway, right? But then when I finished and I realized they had a preset expectation of my life, but didn't teach me how to reach it.
They didn't give you the tools you needed.
So I had to figure it out. So when he died, I was like, dang, I had so much to tell you. I didn't even get a chance. Because we spent so much time trying to keep our relationship as something. Because there was so many people involved of not necessarily splitting us up, but they had control. You know what I'm saying? I'm the youngest. People, they telling me where I can go, where I can't go.
Right.
And it had a lot to do with him. And so then I realized this just ain't my life. And then my son died.
Wow.
And when he died is when I was like, now what I'm supposed to do? And so I just been fighting, trying to get laws passed and doing a bunch of stuff. I'm an advocate for life. And when he died, I was like, okay, we got to help get the distracted driving law passed. I did that. Now I'm in Senate trying to help get a bereavement law passed so families can get more time when they family members die.
Is this something that you're doing right now?
Right this second.
Okay. And the distracted driving law passed? That's here in the state of Georgia? Mm-hmm. You had something to do with that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go, being an advocate constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so
that's when I knew my purpose.
That's when you knew your purpose.
Yeah. I never knew my purpose till I was 35 years old.
And then you went to school. You got, how did you really? I mean, obviously you took us 360 on how you found your purpose. But what are some of the things that you did when you really started? Because you're dynamic. I mean, I've spoken to you before. And I know that you speak to a lot of other people, and you help. A lot of reputable people right here, even in Atlanta. I know you've spoken at funerals, and you help people deal with grief. What are some of the things that that you haven't told us yet about grief and dealing with it?
With my dad, I wasn't as attached as I should have been to miss him. As that saying of you can't miss something you really had. I knew he was my father. I loved him as a father, but he left too long. He left when I was too young. So his death didn't affect me as much as his mother's did, because I spent a lot of time with her. My mother died after my son, and that's when I think grief really, my son's death was so tragic, grief had no choice but to hit me out the gate. But when your parents die before you, you understand grief to a degree because you kind of expect them to die before you. But with my mother, after my mother died, and then my dad had already died, and the only grandmother I knew had passed, I then realized grief was different. Grief was now you live in the world by yourself. Anybody that you came from their bodies, their sperm, their life, they're gone. So where you can't pick up the phone, I can't call my mother on Thanksgiving like, hey, what am I supposed to put in the dressing because I'm missing? It's over. Or I just need a hug and I need my mama, and that's over. And so you begin to live another new type of normal, because losing a child and a parent is different. It's just not the same. But losing my mother was, anybody that has their mother, I educate them daily and say, respect them, love them. Because when they're gone, you never get that opportunity for a person you know that loves you to love you any other way. Nobody loves you like your mother. Nobody loves you like your parents, even if they're not present. Most often, parents don't know how to love. They're not taught properly. So if you lose them, especially. So if you lose them, now all you have is the morals and the values and stuff that they taught you. And you want to make sure your kids represent them through you as well as you teach them.
Yeah, I love that. And we have a few more minutes. We didn't get into it a lot, but you did say something that I've been meaning to ask you about.
Yeah.
And I want to know how to, you mentioned earlier that your mother loved your kids more than she loved you. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can go into why you felt that way, why you knew that, thought that, and how did that make you feel? And do you think you ever got over that? As you mentioned, when you lose a parent, if there's something that you're not able to deal with before they're gone, it even makes it more difficult once they are gone.
I think it was a gift and a curse for me. My mother, I say that with a sense of, I believe, I'm not a grandparent yet, but I believe parents take on the love of a grandchild as if to say, I've done this already with my children. I kind of should know how to do this now with my grandkids. And so they believe they are carte blanche of the parenting when it comes to grandkids. They gonna tell you how to do it. They gonna tell you what should happen and should not happen. Even if they did these things with you, they better parent than you. That's what they believe. And so my mother often showed me that things she didn't do or care for me about, she did for my children. I could tell her love. I could see the love in her eyes when my children were in her presence that I didn't often see for myself. And because we were in a struggling time during the years that my children were my age when I was their age, that wasn't the mother I saw that my children got to see. And as we realized exactly what that meant, I would often see her be more loving to them than the affection that she lacked with me. And I don't know that it kind of made me where I felt like I lost it, but I didn't know how to give it. So I had to learn from other people whose parents taught them how to be affectionate and show love and have love and compassion. We were very standoffish when it came to that in our home. We didn't do a whole lot of hugging and I love you, right? I had to learn that from other people who did it to me. Well, I remember saying it to my mother, like, all right, love you. And she'll be like, all right. It would never say it back, but she never did. So then when she saw me with the affection with my children, she gravitated to doing it with them than me, because it was weird, I guess, to double back and do it with me. But it was kind of normal because she saw me do it with them. So she just jumped in soup, and it was easier for her to give it to them because they little. It's like, oh, come here, love you, kiss you, that kind of stuff. And I would be remiss to say that I didn't envy it a bit because I didn't get it. But I knew that when he died, I'll never forget her face. She was devastated. And that's when I said she loved him more than me.
Do you think, or don't you think, that maybe that was part of your mother's growth process herself. Like she didn't know how to love you and then she learned how to love more. Okay.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. She loved it through them, right? That's what most parents do. They learn when they become grandparents, they learn better.
Right.
But absolutely, she learned how to love my children more.
Okay. All right, that's dope. Well, listen, Dr. Cynthia, we could talk here for a lot longer if we had the time. I know we don't. I saw you checking your watch and I'm checking mine. I know it's wrapping up, but we do a last segment, our in and out segment. It's sort of like a rapid fire, and I just, throw a couple words out at you, sort of like word association.
Yeah.
You can tell me a phrase, a thought, or whatever comes to mind when you think about it.
What you got?
Okay. Love.
Unconditional.
Family.
Needed.
Freedom.
Patient. Because you can lose that.
Pain.
Inevitable.
Forgiveness.
Inevitable.
And last, but definitely not least, what does in and out mean to you?
Overcoming obstacles and making sure that your past is not your present. If you're there, you're supposed to be, and when you're out, you're a new you. Your path is what your path is, but your present is better.
Dope. Okay, so I want to give you an opportunity in closing to let everyone know where they can find you.
Absolutely.
And, give us some, to everyone that's out there, to everyone that is listening, people that tuned into us, anyone that's in the audience, anyone that might be going through something, has been through something, give them some words of encouragement, tell them how to fight their way out, and then let everybody know, where they can find you if they want to reach out to you directly.
Absolutely. So just so that anyone hears my voice to their ears, don't fight through pain. You're better healed than unhealed. Being unhealed lasts too long. Being healed is a forever. And so take the time to get with you someone who you trust to be very vulnerable with and share your pain and traumas with so they can help you free yourself. You can find me at Love From Afar. I give my Instagram out because that's pretty much everywhere. I'm going to catch that. And my organization is lovefromafar.org. Lovefromafar.org and at Love From Afar. And Dr. Cynthia Williams here. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for taking the time to spend this time with us. We certainly appreciate you. We thank you. I told y'all all she was a triple threat. She is dynamic, she is intelligent, and she is beautiful. And we are thankful, we are grateful that she has taught us how to heal. She has taught us so many things. She has made the analogy and helped us to understand why, in many ways, we are like that artichoke. So many of us with so many layers on top of the hurt and the pain that could be all the way in the center, deep to the core. And Dr. Cynthia Williams has started to help us understand how you can peel back those layers and really get to the core of the problem. We appreciate you so much. And I am talking to all of you who may be going through something right now, who might have been through something, who might think that there is no tomorrow. But remember, there always is. Take it from her better than you can hear it from me or better than you've heard it before. But like the doctor says, it is better to be healed than to be unhealed. And as I've told you before, I'm specifically talking to all of y'all that are locked up right now in any form of prison. As you know, you could be in the free world and still be locked up mentally. You could be in a mental prison, or you could be incarcerated in a physical prison, and you can be free in your mind. But we want to thank you over and over again and continue to encourage you to come back and to check us out. We appreciate everyone that's in the audience. We want you to keep tuning in to In and Out Podcast by Eric Geralt. That's me. I am Eric Geralt, and I appreciate you. I thank you, and I love you all for checking with us no matter where you at. Remember, This is not the final chapter in your book. There's going to be more to be written. You know where to find us. INNOUT by Eric Gerald. INNOUT podcast by Eric Gerald. That's In and Out Podcast. Continue to check in. We appreciate you for tuning in. And now we're out. Peace.